If you like my dad's videos, please subscribe to QA Insights channel.
Welcome to episode 73 of Learn JMeter series. In this video, we are going to talk about mTLS in JMeter. To demonstrate the mTLS concept, I'm going to leverage Nginx and I'm going to spin up the simple Flask application on EC2. Then we are going to configure the certificates in JMeter. And also we are going to generate the client certificate, server-side certificate for the Nginx as well. Without further ado, let us get started. Before we see about the demo part, first let us understand the high-level information about the mTLS. So mTLS stands for Mutual Transport Layer Security. As we all know, we have been using SSL for a pretty long time. So TLS, formerly known as SSL. So in TLS, the client requests for the certificate from the server side so that it can believe the response is coming from the authenticated source. In terms of mTLS, both client and server use X509 certificates to authenticate themselves. So this is the primary difference between the mTLS and the TLS. mTLS will be implemented most of the organizations, often used in the Zero Trust Security Framework. So what is Zero Trust Security Framework? For any user, there will be no access or minimal access will be granted for any resource. So this is the core concept of Zero Trust Security Framework. Now let us talk about the entities when it comes to TLS or mTLS. So basically there are two halves. One is the public and another one is private key. So anything encrypted with the public key can only be decrypted with the private key. And again, anything encrypted with the private key can only be decrypted with the public key. So these are the two entities you often work when it comes to secured layer. Okay, now let us see how the mTLS works in very simple graphical representation. So here we have the user. So we can think of like a client or a browser. And at the backend, we have the server here. So whenever you send a request from the browser to the server, just say with a hi or launching some domain name, and it will respond back with some response message. And along with that, it will send the certificate. And also server will request for the certificate from the client. And once the request is received in the client side, it will also send the certificate to the server. And also client will send the encrypted message to the server. And the communication will be done between the client and server. So if the server is also presenting the valid certificate and the client also is sending the valid certificate, then it will create the encrypted connection. So now both the parties has themselves authenticated. Now they can talk in the encrypted connection. So this is how very high level mTLS works. Now let us see about from JMeter perspective what needs to be taken care when it comes to mTLS. So as you know, JMeter supports JKS, Java Key Store format, and PKCS 12. And you can also use a program called Key Store Explorer to create the JKS, or you can use the OpenSSL to create the certificates, and you can also convert from one format to another format. So when it comes to JMeter, as you know, it's a pure Java-based application and it relies on Java Key Store. So Java Key Store is nothing but a file format where it contains the cryptographic information about the keys and the certificate. So mostly it will be secured using a password. And if you go to this Java home path in your machine and go to library, security and CS certs, you can also see the approved entities. And by default, the key store password is changed. And when it comes to JMeter, you can map your key store file and also the password using the system.properties. So here, I think I have missed one more parameter that is called password. So I will show it in the demo part. So now let us see what is required to generate the PKCS 12 or JKS. Since we are going to use PKCS, let us see the things you required to generate this file. Again, you can use a key tool or a key store explorer, any compatible software to generate the PKCS format. But one thing you need is a couple of things actually: the client certificate, client.crt and client.t, and optionally you may need CA certificates. So whenever you interact with the development team or DevOps team or whoever you are going to get the information about this, so make sure you are getting this information. Unless you generate the PKCS tool, you cannot make a request in JMeter. And similarly, if for recording purpose also, you have to install it in your local system so that you can access via from the browser. Okay, so what needs to be done if you are following along? So one thing is you need to have a Linux box. Any flavor of Linux will do, and you need to have OpenSSL. By default it comes with OpenSSL, and you can install Nginx, Python, Flask, and I'm going to run series of commands to generate the certificates. So all these commands is available in the GitHub repository down in the description. You can check it out. So now let us see a quick demo. Actually, it's a pretty long demo. It may take more time. So if you are in a hurry, if you want to skip the setup part, you can directly go to the JMeter section. So this is my AWS account. So here I am running a couple of instances. So just to get started from the scratch, let us spin up the Ubuntu box in EC2, and let us give a name here, say Nginx, Flask, mTLS demo. And here I'm going to select Ubuntu, and I'm going to stay with the free tier, and I'm going to select the key pair, and then I'm going to check these two boxes, and then I'm going to click on launch instance. So this will create the Ubuntu box. And then if you go to this repository, I have already mentioned the steps to follow. So let us copy these steps one by one in our EC2 box. And first let me grab the IP address. So this is the newly spun up the EC2 box, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to SSH. So the very first command is we are going to update. So you have to just follow blindly, but wherever it needs some inputs, I will explain. So next command is we are going to install the Nginx. So here let me elevate my privilege to sudo, so that because we need all the commands in sudo privilege. Okay, the next command is to install the pip package so that we can install the Flask. So next we are going to install the Flask application, and then I'm going to create the main.python file using the Vim editor, and I'm going to copy this sample code. So here we are creating two routes. One is the main route, which will give the message, say hello world. And then we are going to create the another route user. Again, it will also displays the hello user. So now I am going to save this, and if you see, you can see the main.py. And then I'm going to add the Flask app, the variable. I'm going to export it so that it will map it to main.py. So now if I run Flask run, you can see it will open the port 5000, and then you can launch the application. So but right now it works only locally. It is not exposed to the public internet. So let me clear my screen, and let us go inside the SSL folder. So inside the SSL folder, we are going to create a new folder called self-signed certificates. So I'm going to use make directory, and then we are going to inside the self-signed certificates. So this is the folder where you can create the certificates. So the very first command is we are going to use the OpenSSL. So by default, OpenSSL will be installed in your machine. So I think OpenSSL, if you just type -h or help, you can see the details. So here if you want to display everything, you can use the OpenSSL version -a. So this will display everything with respect to the version details. So now the very first command is again, as I mentioned, server.key and server.crt. So this will generate the server.key and server.crt in the current directory. So just copy and paste and hit enter. And here you have to enter the country name, state, or you can just keep entering so that it will fill the default values. So here instead of common name, so I'm going to use server cert. So now if you type ll, you can see server.crt and server.key. So similarly, we are going to generate the client.key and client.crt. So again, it will ask for the country name, state, locality, organization name, and then unit name, and then common name. So here I am going to give say QA Insights client. So now if you type ll, you can see client.crt, client.key, server.crt, server.key. So now the next step is to generate the P12 format. So either you can use Keystore Explorer or you can use the OpenSSL to convert the server.p12. So now just copy this and paste here and hit enter. So here if you observe, we are mapping the certs, CS certificates, but it is not required actually. And let us remove the cert file. So we don't need this and hit enter. So now it will ask for the export password. So you have to give the valid password. It can be anything. So now if you type ll, you can see there are 5 files: client.crt, client.key, server.crt, server.key, server.p12. Okay, now it is time to configure the Nginx. So before you get started, make sure the Nginx is up and running. So you can just use the curl localhost. You can see the output, welcome to Nginx. So now let us launch the Nginx configuration in etc Nginx sites enabled and then default. So before you edit this particular configuration, always it's good to take a backup. So copy the default file. So I'm going to use default backup Nginx. So now you can see the backup here. So now it is time to open the default here in Nano or Vim, whatever editor you are comfortable, you can just use it. So now I'm going to delete everything. So here I'm going to delete. You can use Control K to delete everything. And I'm going to paste this information in here. So basically here you have to change a few things. One is the home here. So home should be Ubuntu. And then so here there are 2 mappings. One is user and another one is home page. So this is what we have also done in the Flask application. So now just Control S, Control X. So now you can see everything is proper. So now what we can do is if you do exit, it will go to out of the root. Now if you type ll, you don't see the main.py because main.py we created at the root. So here either you can create here or you can create in the root, but make sure you are mapping in the proper place. Just to avoid the confusion, let me create here also, and let us use this information here. And before that, let me just edit this information. So again, we are going to use export. So export Flask app. So now if you run Flask run, it will launch the application. So now we have to do some validation at the nginx because we configure the nginx. So just sudo nginx -t. So this will validate the syntax. And after syntax validation, you can use -s reload. So make sure you're using sudo here. So now it will automatically reload. So now you can open the application from the browser. So now what I am going to do is I am going to go inside my Windows server, and let me copy the IP address from here and let us paste here. So I'm going to use HTTP. Okay, see this site can't be reached, and if I try this also, it will not work. So now if you just go to HTTPS and click on this proceed to link, you can see no required SSL certificate was sent. So this error you will get because we are not sending the SSL certificate because we have not installed it. So we have to download the certificate and install it in the place wherever you want to access. To do that, let us go back to the terminal. Okay, let us elevate the privilege and let us cd etc SSL and self-signed certificates. So now you can see the information here. So before you download this, you need to change the permissions. So I'm going with 777, and then I'm going to change the permission only for server.p12. Okay, now if you type ll, you can see it is read and write and executable across all the users, but this is not recommended. You have to give only the least privilege. Okay, so now I'm going to download this, and then I'm going to transfer it to the server. So here to download, I'm going to use one SCP command here, and in this case I'm going with the this IP address, and I'm going to change the server.p12, and then I'm going to download it to the current location. So this is the current location, and then I'm going to upload to my Bitwarden. So here I'm going to upload securely. So this is my server.p12, and I'm going to change the I'm going to send the file information, which is server.p12, and I'm going to copy this, and let me change the deletion date in 1 hour. So now let me go back to the server. So this is my Windows server, and I'm going to download the file. So this will download the server.p12. So now we are going to use this p12 to install it in the browser. So first we are going to validate in the browser, then we can take care in the JMeter. To upload this certificate, go to your settings and then search for CERT here and click on security in terms of Chromium based browsers. Firefox, again, just follow the settings and search for CERT. So here let me remove the old certificate, and I'm going to import, click on next and click on browse, and go to downloads and select all files here and select server.p12 and click on next, and here you have to enter the password. So this password is the password where you use it while exporting, and I click on next, and you can place it in the personal because it's a self-signed certificate. So click on next and click on finish and close. So now just close this browser and let us launch the HTTPS of this particular my bad. So this is the IP address. So I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to change the HTTPS. So now once you hit enter, since we already configured the certificate, so the server is requesting the certificate and the browser is displaying the select a certificate to authenticate yourself. So now if you click on OK, it is showing 502 bad gateway because our application is not up and running. So now let us go back to the terminal and let us execute flask run. So since it is in the home directory, we have to go to the home directory and run the flask run. So again, we have to set the export flask underscore app equals main.py and flask run. So now it is up and running. Now if you go back to your Windows server and click on refresh, you can see hello world. So now if you go to user, you can see hello user. So similarly, you can see the information getting displayed here whenever you send the GET request. So now we have successfully done the authentication, the mutual TLS from the browser side. Okay, how about JMeter? So that is the next part. So to use the server.p12 in JMeter, there are a couple of ways. So one is you can add the system.properties. So I'm going to open the system.properties, and here I'm going to change the file of server.p12. So this is the file we downloaded. So I'm going to go to these downloads and I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in the bin folder. So now we have the server.p12. So this is the path. So now I'm going to save this. So actually the saving is not working here. It needs to be opened as with right permissions. So just make sure your changes are reflecting in your JMeter. So now let us launch the jmeter.bat, and let me close this the old JMeter instance. And I already created the script. So script is very simple. It is not very complex or fancy here. So in the request defaults, I'm going to enter the IP address. So this is the IP address. And we are going to hit the HTTPS. So request 1 will hit the home page and request 2 will hit the user. So now if you execute, it will launch the page. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove, or let me just comment these properties, and let me save it and let me relaunch. And let me open the test plan again. Okay, now we don't have any certificates associated with the JMeter. Now if you click on run, this will fail. And if you see the response data, it is saying no required SSL certificate was sent because client needs to send the certificate. From the UI also you can send the certificate using the options SSL manager. So here if you just map the server.p12 and click on open and clear it and run it, it will prompt for the password. So let me enter the password here, and once you're done, you can see it is displaying the valid response. So this is how you map the P12 certificates either from the properties or from the UI. So I prefer the properties file, or you can send it in the command line argument as well using the -d and java something. Okay, now let me teach you how you can work with the certificates. Usually certificates, people will be thinking very scary, or they hate when it comes to certificates, cryptography, those things. So it's pretty easy if you understand the concept. So one of the tool I usually use is Keystore. So this Keystore Explorer, again, there are various tools you can use to explore the certificates and other details. So this will help you to play around with a lot of things, and which will help you to learn the concepts. So here, Keystore Explorer, you can create a new key store, and you can password protect the key store, or you can open the existing certificate. You can examine You can verify, you can do a lot of stuffs using this software. Now let us go to file menu and open the server.p12. So just go to the server.p12 and click on open. Again, it will prompt you for the password and enter the same password and hit OK. So now you can see the entry name 1 and the algorithm is RSA 2048. Expiry date, usually it will be 1 year expiry for any certificate you generate by default, and you can see other details. Now if you right click and if you go to export, you can export to various formats. You can export the key pair, you can export the certificate chain, export the private key, export the public key. And if you want to generate the certificate sign-in request, you can generate. You can also verify the certificate. So now if you click on verify, again, it will ask you to verify using the CRL or OCSP. Again, we will cover this later about the OCSP, CRL, etc. So again, you can use this alternate CA store to validate the certificate, and then you can select the server.p12. So again, if you right click, you can unlock it, you can set password. So you can do a lot of things by right clicking on the certificate. So what is this entry name 1? So 1 is nothing but the alias name. Again, you can use the OpenSSL or key tool to find the various information. And also if you go to examine and click on examine SSL, and here you can enter the IP address and the port number and click on enable and click on OK. It will examine the SSL information and then it will display these details. So here you can see we are using the version 3. This is our common name, organization, state, country, and then serial name, from, until, algorithm. So here you can click on export to various formats: X509, PKS, PKCS7, PKI path, SPC. So there are so many formats available. Again, using this Keystore Explorer, you can convert to various formats, and again you can convert to PEM also. So this is about Keystore, mTLS, TLS, JMeter, Python, Nginx. So we have touched so many things, but the core thing is for the mutual authentication, you need the certificate. You need to send the certificate either from the browser or from the tool to generate the compatible format, P12 or PK or JKS. You need to have the client.crt, client.key, and optionally CA certificate. So here also you can create the key store. So if you go to file, new, and click on JKS and then click on save, it will ask you to the enter the password here, and then once you click on OK, it will ask you for the name. So this is our JKS. So inside this JKS, you can import the key pair. So here we are going to select the PKCS12 because that's what we have, and we have to enter the decryption password and click on browse and click on server.p12 and click on import. So now it will ask you for the password and click on OK. So now if you click on save, you have JKS format. So now this also can be used in JMeter. So now what we can do, you can go to SSL manager, browse, and server_JKS and click on run. This also will work. So you can use either PKCS or JKS. Keystore tool is an excellent tool for all your research purpose. So it's a pretty long video, I know, but please follow along, practice multiple times so that you will get the concept. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.
If you like my dad's videos, please subscribe to QA Insights channel.